world paused in awe, and a quiet calm settled over St. Peter's Square. It was a day that would go down in history, a day of transformation. Luis Antonio, once the simple Archbishop of Manila, stepped into a new role as Pope Francis II. The hopes of millions rested on him, yet he greeted the moment with a warm, glowing smile. To those who believed, he was a shining light of hope. A fresh chapter for the Catholic Church had begun. Inside the Grand Basilica, sunlight poured through colorful stained glass windows, and the sweet smell of incense floated in the air. The old sacred ceremonies unfolded with a quiet, beautiful dignity. Cardinals, dressed in bright red robes, moved through the church in a solemn line. The air felt heavy with the echoes of centuries past. On his finger sparkled the papal fisherman's ring, a sign of his new power. Around his shoulders was placed the pallium, a simple woolen scarf, reminding him to care for his people like a shepherd. Every part of the ceremony was wrapped in tradition, connecting him to the very soul of the Church. He was now the Vicar of Christ, following in the footsteps of St. Peter. With a humble and gentle spirit, he accepted his calling. Cheers burst out across the world, from the Philippines to Poland, from Brazil to the United States. 1 billion people felt united as one. This was a moment that mattered deeply, a memory to hold dear. Elderly nuns wiped away tears, while young children waved little Vatican flags with pure excitement. From every part of the earth, people who loved the Church came together to celebrate this new beginning. Messages of joy and support flooded in. This wasn't just a crowning. It was proof of how faith could bring people together. Then, silence returned to the square. Pope Francis II spoke, his voice trembling with feeling. He talked about kindness, togetherness, and the desperate need for peace. He urged the strong to rethink their ways and offered comfort to those who were struggling. He dreamed of a church that welcomed everyone, especially those left out or forgotten. He asked for a return to the simple, powerful lessons of Jesus, a focus on what faith truly means. His words touched the hearts of millions. Pope Francis II felt like a leader made for today, a pope who truly got what people are going through in the modern world. He was all about welcoming change, bringing a new vibe to his role. His election was a big deal, a turning point for the Catholic Church, especially as the first Asian pope. He carried a bold, new energy into the Vatican. His time as pope was defined by a promise to include everyone and to find a balance between old traditions and today's needs. Being the first Asian pope wasn't just a title. It showed the Church reaching out to the whole world. With his unique background, he could relate to people from all kinds of cultures and lives. This wide-open view helped him tackle the big, messy challenges the Church faced in the 21st century. His leadership proved the Church wanted to be for everyone, everywhere. Choosing him showed it was ready to evolve and face the real world of today. He didn't shy away from tough topics that had been swept under the rug for too long. Instead, he invited people to talk openly and created space for honest, hard conversations. For many who'd felt pushed away by the Church before, his way of doing things was like a gust of fresh air. His humbleness and his care for the poor and forgotten struck a chord. Not just with Catholics, but with people of all beliefs. He'd often pop up in struggling neighborhoods, bringing kindness and help to those who needed it most. He didn't just talk about fairness and justice. He lived it. This won him love from those inside the Church and respect from those outside it. He wasn't afraid to say the Church had made mistakes in the past and needed to do better. It wasn't easy to face those old wrongs, but his courage and clear vision lit a spark. inspiring others to join him in reshaping the Church for a brighter, more open future. Pope Francis II believed that tackling tough problems straight on would make the Church stronger and more connected. He was a pope who really listened and understood people. He made a special effort to reach out to young folks, knowing they'd shape the Church's future. He cared about what they thought and urged them to jump in and help carry out the Church's mission. His knack for bonding with people one-on-one made him a favorite, not just among Catholics, but beyond the Church too. His time as Pope was all about talking things out and making changes, lighting the way in a world that often felt shaky. He worked hard to build bridges, spark understanding, and spread peace. His leadership gave people a boost, showing them a church that wasn't just up to date, but also kind and open to all. In a time full of change and doubt, Pope Francis II shone as a sign of hope and a fresh start. He wanted to heal the world. Known as Pope Tagle, his message was all about bringing people together with love and care. The world tuned in, hanging on his every word. He talked about fixing the rifts tearing humanity apart, calling for an end to fighting and a start to forgiving and making things right. He stood up against poverty, unfairness, and the way the weak get taken advantage of. He reminded everyone that every single life matters, worthy of respect and honor. His point was simple: love wins every time. His words were like a soothing hug to a hurting world. He painted a picture of a better tomorrow, one filled with peace and fairness, where everyone felt like part of one big family. Catholics everywhere came together, full of faith and hope. The bells of St. Peter's rang out, a happy melody that rippled across the globe. Those deep, booming chimes weren't just calling people to pray. They were inviting everyone to celebrate something bigger than time or distance. They were a reminder that no matter where they were, Catholics belonged to one giant worldwide family. From Manila to Mexico City, from Rome to Rio de Janeiro, Catholics everywhere threw a big party for their shared faith. In Manila, the streets buzzed with happy parades, bright banners flapping in the breeze. In Mexico City, people packed the huge cathedral, their voices blending into one beautiful song. In Rome, the heart of the Catholic world, the celebrations mixed old-school traditions with a fresh, modern vibe, making it both grand and meaningful. Over in Rio de Janeiro, the lively beat of samba danced alongside hymns, creating a fun and spirited fiesta. The crowning of Pope Francis II was a loud and clear reminder that the Church belongs to everyone, everywhere. As the world watched the new Pope take his place, all those ancient rituals showed off the Catholic Church's long-lasting story. The Pope's down-to-earth style and warm words hit home for millions, driving home his message of love, kindness, and togetherness. It was a moment that pulled people from all walks of life, across borders, languages, and cultures, into one big, hopeful hug of faith. Around the world, churches filled up with all kinds of people, each adding their own special flavor to the mix. Seeing folks from different countries praying side by side was a stunning sight. Whether in a tiny village chapel or a massive cathedral, you could feel the sense of family and purpose in the air. It showed that faith doesn't care about lines on a map, and that love and hope speak to everyone. It proved just how strong belief can be. In a world that sometimes feels dark, Pope Francis II was like a guiding light. Candlelight vigils popped up, with soft flames flickering in the night, showing the way through tough times. People held candles close, their faces glowing with quiet hope, reflecting their rock-solid trust in a better tomorrow. Those peaceful moments of prayer and togetherness gave strength and comfort, reminding everyone they're part of something bigger. In this happy moment, Catholics everywhere felt a burst of energy and a shared promise to make the world better. The get-togethers were full of giggles, warm hugs, and big smiles as people united to cheer for their faith. You could see the friendship and support shining through as folks chatted, lifted each other up, and shared hopeful words. It was a time to think about the things that tie them together and to promise anew to do good in their neighborhoods. The parties weren't just about looking back, they were about dreaming of a future packed with possibilities. That's the power of belief. A big shout-out to the unstoppable spirit of the Church. For 2,000 years, the Catholic Church has faced rough times, wars, sickness, and big changes, and come out tougher, starting from its small roots in the old Roman Empire. It's grown into a worldwide family, touching millions of lives through thick and thin. The Church has always been there, a steady hand offering comfort and direction to anyone who needs it. Its strength shows how faith and a belief in something bigger can last forever. The crowning of Pope Francis II was proof of that spirit, its knack for changing with the times while keeping its heart strong. This big moment wasn't just a fancy tradition. It was a bold sign of the Church's ability to keep going and refresh itself. It showed how the Church can welcome new ideas while holding tight to what matters most. The Pope's special robes and gear, dripping with history, reminded everyone of the Church's long journey. And when he blessed the crowd, it was like a high five to the future, a signal that faith, hope, and love never go out of style and are woven deep into the Church's soul. Those values have steered people through the ages, acting like a trusty guide when things get shaky. The sight of people praying, the warm glow of candles, and the sacred symbols all around kept those timeless ideas front and center. They're the solid ground the Church stands on, unshaken by the ups and downs of history. Values that rise above the twists and turns of time. The Church's teachings have been like a steady light and a big boost for people, reaching across cultures and time. The colorful stained glass windows, packed with Bible stories, along with the long history and vivid pictures, show off the Church's amazing past. They share tales of faith, tough choices, and second chances that click with people no matter when or where they live. When folks gather for a church service, they're keeping that living story alive, a group tied together by worship and friendship in a world that often feels wobbly and split apart. The Church stood tall as a symbol of togetherness and calm. Its message of love and kindness crosses all borders, pulling people into a shared mission. Whether it's a mix of different faces in a church, a bird's-eye view of St. Peter's Square, or a close-up of a tight-knit crowd, it all shows how the Church brings everyone together. It's a safe spot where people from every corner of life can find something they share and feel at home. The crowning of Pope Francis II was a giant cheer for faith, a moment bursting with happiness and respect. The lively scenes in St. Peter's Square, the quiet night vigils with flickering candles, and the sweet sound of a choir filling a cathedral all wrapped up the magic of that day. It was a loud yes to the Church's lasting strength and its power to lift people up. This wasn't just a fancy religious event. It was a wake-up call about how the Church sits at the heart of millions of lives worldwide. A map glowing with Catholic spots around the globe proves just how far and wide the Church's influence stretches. It's a reminder that, for so many, the Church isn't just a building or a set of rules. It's a living, breathing part of their world, guiding and inspiring them every day. Seeing families at church and all kinds of people praying side by side shows how the Church's message speaks to everyone. It's a simple, powerful idea: hope, love, and togetherness that clicks with folks no matter where they're from. The Church keeps shining as a guiding star, giving spiritual food and a warm sense of belonging to anyone who's looking for it. A legacy of love. Pope Tagle's journey kicks off. As the sun dipped low, painting Rome with a cozy golden light, Pope Francis II raised his hands for a final blessing. His adventure was just getting started. The road ahead was full of big challenges, but he met them with bravery, a humble heart, and a whole lot of love. He was a pope for the people and a servant of God, carrying the dreams and wishes of 1 billion people on his back. The world watched, held its breath, and sent up prayers. A fresh page in the Catholic Church's story had flipped open, a page bursting with possibilities and hope. Want more cool history stories? Hit that subscribe button on our channel God Always for more awesome stuff.